Today's topic is an insight into POSH. Friends, this is also very close to me, this topic, because since years I was feeling this topic has a lot of impact on individual, society, and of course the organization. And as a compliance head and as an organization, it become a lot of responsibility on the organization and compliance head to ensure the implementation of this, and not only that, to ensure the healthy and safe working atmosphere. It's not easy to ensure that. It's becoming more and more difficult. And more you work towards that, more you find the work to be done in that area. And looking at that only, now why we added in this also, in addition to its importance is further increased by government adding to the annual report. And hence it become necessary further for company secretary to ensure POSH implementation. So today's our panelist is CS Pratibha Sabarwal. Welcome, Pratibha, to our this webinar. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
To formally introduce Ms. Pratibha Sabarwal is a second seasoned company secretary, law graduate, and certified POSH consultant with over 15 years of experience in corporate compliance, governance, and wellness. She specializes in Companies Act, FEMA, RBI, and PMLA compliance and served as an independent director and external POSH committee member for various organizations. She also conducts impactful POSH and wellness training sessions, advocating for safe and balanced workplace. As a certified yoga instructor and wellness coach, she integrates holistic approaches to enhance mental and physical well-being. Her mission is to blend legal excellence with empathetic leadership to support sustainable organization growth. Welcome, Ms. Pratibha. And friends, Ms. Pratibha's career shows that how a CS, who are generally always law graduate, contribute in a different field in a varied way. Welcome, Ms.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a warm welcome. I'm really obliged to hear all this. I mean, when once so journey just starts, but when you get to hear it again and again, and like the mentors and the seniors like you, so it feels really great that okay, so journey we throughout the journey we have done something. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
See, as a CS, professional CS, I always get fascinated when somebody does something different. And I keep on talking to that person, and I feel really, really happy when they do something different from the normal. And you deserve that applaud. Thanks a lot. Our today's presenter is Ms. Namrata Tatya. She is fellow member of ICSI with 8 years of experience and practicing, and she is also law and commerce graduate. She is specialized in corporate and legal secretarial matters, startup compliance, merger, and she worked as a consultant advisor to various leading CA firms, startup investors, government companies, educational institutions, franchise business, etc. She is also a certified POSH trainer and eligible independent director, and she leads our Raipur branch. We have with us also today Ms. Ashwini Namdar, our senior partner Mehta and Mehta. She is fellow member of ICSI and master in law, and she has overall experience of 15 years. She is a senior partner Mehta and Mehta and handling portfolio of 300 plus clients, of which top 100 listed company. She specializes in listed company, stock exchange, and various experience in the matter of LODR takeover companies. We have with us our moderator, Mr. Bala, who don't need any introduction. Welcome, Mr. Bala. And with this, I'll request, we thank all panelists for today's webinar. for joining us. POSH, if you say as a topic, has a big implementation, a big implications. It has, when implemented, and when it is something happen under POSH, it affects the life of so many people. We have known so many professionals who has faced the action under this and whose life has been changed to a 360-degree reverse gear, and it spoils their life, not only that person's life but entire family. So this law has a big impact, and one has to be very careful while doing this. So we, this topic is, that's why, having big impact on everyone's life, so one has to be careful. When it is detected, it has a big implications on the goodwill of organization as well, and hence the POSH committee, their documentation, their inquiry, investigations is also need to be properly documented, very crucial, because that shows what care the POSH committee has taken and what are the steps taken, because it may take a future legal action, and that all these papers and your proofs are very crucial, so that all to be taken care. And it's a big responsibility on POS committee and its members. And that's why the constitution of POS committee is that way mentioned in a, that it has a different field members as well. With this, I'll just say that how it can be observed, how one should be careful in dealing in day-to-day life, and how an organization can create an atmosphere which is free but still under control. So with this, I will request our panelists to say a few words on the topic. Then Mr. Bala, a few words, and we can start the presentation. Over to our panelists. Ms. Pratibha, you just say a few words on the topic.
Okay.
Your view on the topic, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So yes, POSH Act, for me, I understand that POSH is something which has become now very sensitive, and we are facing day to day. We are facing every woman in this scenario. I think we had faced or we are facing some things for which we are not actually coming up and speaking about what we are, because this is the only act which works on the impact. The other acts, they are working on the intent, what the intent was. But this is the only act which works on the impact, how the victim is getting impacted or how the grieved is getting impacted. And we in day-to-day life, while traveling in a metro, while walking on a road, or while wearing something which we like but the other person is not liking, so we face something which are not appropriate as per us. But we do not have those guts, or we do not have that courage to come up and speak for us. And I think this act is giving us that power. It is empowering us to speak for us, whatever is right, whatever is wrong. And also for the male members of the society, I would say it is actually telling them how to behave, how your simple action can impact the other person, whether your intent was right or wrong, whether you were not intentionally trying to do that act which the other person is perceiving the way it is a sexual harassment for them. So for me, I think it's equally important for all the males and females of the society to know about this act, and I am glad this act is actually applicable everywhere. It's just not the structured entities which are working under the name, and they have a structure, but it's for the unstructured entities also. It's very good. And by organizing these webinars, like Mehta and Mehta has organized, we are actually spreading the word among the people, because whoever is attending this session, whoever is attending the webinar, they'll go back and they'll definitely going to discuss with their families, and they will also educate their family people also. Either it is a male, it is a female. So I believe we will be discussing the act during the webinar also. I just feel happy that yes, there is something which we are recognizing, and we as a society are working on that. And I think we all need to come together to make this more impactful and effective. So just not the IC committee, just not the LC, just not the employer, just not the females, just not the male employees. Everyone has to come together and contribute in their own way to make it more impactful and powerful, and to make it work better, so that we just cannot create the happy workplaces, I would say, the happy places where actually females and males are working together and growing together. This is, I think, I would like to add onto this.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Ms. Pratibha, for rightly mentioned that way. Sorry, I forgot. Ashwini, just can you say a few words on the topic, please?
Yes.
Thanks, Ms. Pratibha. We would like to know more your practical experience during the session. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Ms. Ashwini.
Yes. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to be a part of this wonderful session and important conversation on POSH. As you all are aware, I think in 1997, the Vishakha guidelines came into picture. But the act to come into light, it took more than 2 decades. And even after a decade of the act, we are still struggling with the intent or with the awareness that is being driven towards this POSH Act. So even after 10 years of this act, we are not aware, we are not implementing it properly. So I think the Me Too movement that came in 2019 has boosted this POSH Act more. And now, as a professional, I feel we should not just stick to the compliance. We should also create more awareness in the organization. I feel a lot of organizations still lack creating awareness about what is POSH, about what is good, what is bad. Just like in schools we teach, we also have to go ahead and teach in the organizations. And also, I'm very happy that now organizations are implementing this gender neutral policies, but still people are not aware about what is right and what is wrong. So I think as a professional, it is our duty to create more awareness. And today we have designed this session to explore more practical challenges or gray areas, and what are the expectations from the professionals like us. It's not just an annual return in January and we are done with it. There are more expectations from us as a company secretary and compliance officer. I look forward to sharing my thoughts on this, and I'm also looking forward to hearing from Ms. Pratibha about her experiences on this act, and looking forward to engage with all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwini. Friends, Ashwini is also a certified POS trainer. Okay. Over to Mr. Bala. Say a few words and we'll start the session. 2 minutes. Mr. Bala, your view for 2 minutes, please.
Good morning to all of you. I have a great pleasure in welcoming you all for this particular session on my own behalf and also on Mehta and Mehta. I being an older timer, I've been seeing the development which has taken place in terms of women. Those were the days where women were actually looked upon only the housewives consigned to the home, not even provided the school going, etc., and other things. And all from those days onwards, I've been watching it. Now, recently, we've been talking women empowerment in the month of March. We all celebrate, we all honor, we all give flower bouquet and all this thing we talk. But do we live really, really respecting the women? Do we give the real recognition? Do we actually give a cultural place in the organization? Are we treating him equality? That is the question which actually arises in the mind. Although law has been doing its best, even if you look at this law, if you see the heading of the law is actually what? First of all, it says prevention. Second thing is it says prohibition. Then it says redressal. All the things it is there. First of all, you have to see that you have to prevent anything is happening. Impact is later. But first of all, you have to put a framework in the place. Prevention has to be taken place first to place. That is number one. Certain thing is it is also talking about prohibition. That means the organization has to be very clear what are prohibited, what are not prohibited, do's and don'ts. They'll have to bring out the clear-cut policy and other thing and all. In spite of all the things which happens, then redressal mechanism. That is what the act has been actually designed. That is number one. Number two is people will be thinking the POSH Act is applicable only the establishment where women are employed, which is not so. POSH Act as such is applicable to all the organizations, as Pradeepa told it very clearly, structure, unstructured, whatever it is, because it is not only the women is not working, but there are people who walk into the organizations, who are workers, who are actually providing services, who are actually coming visitors. Everybody is there in the workplace. That is why the act is applicable per se to everybody in this act. And second thing I would like to bring to your notice, you all might be knowing it. Sometime back in the TV, there was a news which was going on for quite some time. Me too. That was actually there, which was very popular. There are a lot of people who actually came forward with the past incident. As Pradeepa puts it, people don't come forward. People hesitate. People think about respect. People think about what will happen to us. People will talk about bad, all the things which are actually happening. But it was good that media has actually done its thing, bringing out the Me Too movement, which actually given the awareness. So I will not take more time to talk anything more on that. I think this subject is a very well-known subject. And not only that, the Companies Act itself has actually given a recognition to this act or this. The disclosure requirement in their board report, the setup, etc., and other things are to be put in. So by virtue of the company secretary, either we are working in the company secretary, we are actually acting as a secretary auditor of the company secretary. It is our duty to ensure the necessary legal compliances are also in place in addition to whatever the other actions is taken. That is the gist of this act. I think today's presentation, we will explore more of the practical side. I'm also looking forward to hear from expert like Pratibha, who's actually practicing the POSH and she has a vast experience. And one more thing, last thing, but not the least thing, people think work from home culture. Work from home culture, that means it is not the online. You can dress up any way you want, you can attend and other things and all these things. There has to be ethical is to be maintained, there has to be a decorum is to be maintained, there has to be certain things have to be maintained. That is also there. There have been cases on that cases also. I think probably our presenter will be addressing those issues. I think it will be going to be a very interesting session. I am actually really delighted to see almost about 227 participants are there at this particular time, which shows the importance of this particular topic. Over to Namrata, please.
Namrata, start sharing the screen, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very much you have to put in the presentation mode.
Done, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it
it
is done.
changing?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, thank you, everyone. So, the topic for today is POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013. Before we start speaking and understanding the topic or the act, shall go back to the time where the seeds of the act were sown, where it comes from, what was the history. So first of all, we are all aware of the famous Bhavri Devi case, hails from Rajasthan. The case where the thought of Vishaka guidelines were perceived, and hence further from the Vishaka guidelines, after 2 decades, as Ashwini ma'am said, the act came into the picture. Now, when we talk about the case, the screen says that a hero we failed. It's solely because even after so many years of the case is not even awarded yet. The rape case where the rapists are still not behind the bars, they were bailed, and hence the case is still pending. But this particular case led to the foundation of the sexual harassment prevention, precaution, and all things that covers and protects a woman in the workplace. Going ahead, the landmark Vishaka judgment. The background is that in 1992, Bhavri Devi, a social worker in Rajasthan, who was working passionately to stop child marriages, and got stuck in one of those child marriages where she was trying to save a 9-month-old kid from getting married, 9-month-old girl from getting married. That's when the the people involved in that marriage, who were definitely upper caste men, they gang raped Bhavri Devi just to stop the child marriage. And then she came up, she spoke about it, filed a lot of complaints, but the legal system failed to protect her. There was no specific law that would talk about it, and only the CPC Act was there that would govern such complaints. Now, case was filed by women's group, and further they filed a PIL in the Supreme Court of India under the name Vishaka and others versus State of Rajasthan. After that, there was a lot of hearings. If I am not wrong, there were 150 plus hearings that happened, and throughout the case, 5 judges were changed. But end of it, what came out of it was the guideline. So in 1997, Supreme Court laid down the Vishaka guidelines, a set of legally binding directives. It's directive because it wasn't the law yet, to prevent and redress sexual harassment at workplaces. These guidelines remained in force until POSH Act 2013 was enacted. So for a very long period, even this crucial matter was only being run by the guidelines, and finally in 2013, POSH came into the picture. Now, when we have POSH Act, let's first understand what the basic of the Act says about what is it exactly. So POSH, it stands for Prevention of Sexual Harassment in India, and it's a crucial act. This landmark legislation directly addresses sexual harassment against women at work, aiming to create safe and dignified workplaces for everyone, and thus busting the myth as well that the men are not covered. It specifically protects women, but if there are men who are aggrieved, there can be. So even they will be covered under the Act. The primary objective is to ensure safe, secure, and
Namrata,
dignified.
sorry to
Yes.
interrupt.
Yeah, ma'am.
This act is primarily only for women. If
Exactly.
any men are aggrieved, they can resort to HR policies or can complain under the organization policy, but men are not covered under this act.
Correct.
So the service rules of the company can help the men in these cases like sexual harassment or such related cases. But this POSH Act is specifically for the women.
Yes, and as I told you, companies may have gender neutral policies and they refer to how it can be taken up. And then they can say the internal committees can take up such cases. But primarily, it is prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace. So this is only for women.
And the complaints related to the men will be taken up with the different laws. I mean, this law can be made as a base. They can use the tools and techniques provided in the POSH Act, but for the sake of all those hearings and the processes, they will be taking the base, but the reference of the act will not be taken. So it will be completely the policies of the companies, the internal policy, the social service rules, or any other document, whichever is saying that how they will be protecting their men or the third genders. Now we have identified third genders also. So they all are covered through those things. So just the females.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now, the primary objective, as I said, was to save, secure, and protect women in the working environments. The Act is applicable to every woman, irrespective of her age, employment status, or designation, thus including temporarily working employees, women, or permanent ones, or the walk-in ones. Now, POSH mandates effective redressal mechanism, such as forming an internal committee, mandatory for some companies and structures. And further, the Act fills the legislative gap on workplace sexual harassment laws in India. Alongside the POSH, Criminal Law Act 2013 was also enacted, which criminalized offenses like sexual harassment, stalking, and voyeurism. Now, going further, there is this applicability which talks about what, how, and the Act would govern, act, and provide protection to. First, who it applies to: women, as we talked about it, permanent, temporary, intern, walk-ins, everyone. Workplace covered, it includes the workplace that you work for specifically, but it also includes the workplace which you step out to work in the jurisdiction of your job. So, for example, if you're working in a company but you're moving out for audits or for any other purpose, that place would also be considered as the workplace. Geographical scope, entire territory of India. Types of employer, all employer with more than 10 employees, mandated to form internal committees. We'll discuss this further. But even to organizations which have less than 10 employees, there are directive guidelines. Then we have extended applicability. It covers clients, customers, and visitors present at the workplace. So similar to what they cover in the female, like it includes temporary, permanent, everyone. Similar to the person in front, it includes everyone, even the bosses, the clients, the customers, the visitors in the office, everyone. Situations covered: sexual harassment at the workplace.
Amrita, I would like to simplify just one thing here.
Sure.
It's about whom it applies to and who all are the extended the stakeholders, you can say. So whoever women is walking into your office premises, whether she's there for some inquiry, for some interview, or she's a fixed employee, temporary employee, or any intern, or even have come to your office for anything which they are serving voluntarily, and the bosses are not aware of that. Even those people are covered, or those people are protected, I would say, under this act. So these all kind of women, even the housekeeping staff which we keep, they are on the contractual basis. They are basically on somebody else's or roles. But because they are working in the premises of one particular entity, so they will be the responsibility of that particular entity. So applicability will be whoever you encounter as an employee, as an unknown, as a volunteer, as an intern, whoever, they all will be covered. So the company or the entity will be liable for those. So extended applicability will be like I just gave the example, like the housekeeping staff we keep in our offices. They are contractual staff, but they are working in our premises. So basis the definition provided in the act of the workplace definition says that where the employee is working, or this employer has sent them to some other place to work basis their working their work contract. So basis that contract, they are working in our premises, they are on the roles of somebody else's. So such employees are also our responsibility. So this should not be because they are not on roles, they are not our on roles, so we will not be treating them our employees. So workplace and the definition of whom this act is applicable is very much important. So we need to critically, analyze that to whom it is applicable and what is the workplace, and the combined definition will come together and make us understand that okay, these people are our responsibility and how we have to move forward. I think that's okay. Thank
So
you.
it can be said that way, just to add on, that it is the responsibility of the owner or the manager of the premises where the visit is made, and also the employer or principal employer of the employee who is visiting. So it's both the responsibility is there, and there are two people who are responsible: the people who are employing, people where the person is visiting. Both are responsible under this POSH. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So now, next we have, I'll just quickly wrap this up so that we move to the detailed ones. Situations covered, it includes sexual harassment at the workplace, during work-related travels, events alongside, everywhere. Redressal mechanism, any organization, as we discussed, structured, unstructured, anywhere. If the organization has 10 plus employees, it is 10 or 10 plus employees, it is mandated to have a internal committee, and also can refer to the local committee by district officer for other establishments where ICs cannot be constituted. Then protection offered, physical contact and advances. I mean, there is a set of directive principles which define what constitutes the physical touch, what does not. But here, the protection will completely be against protection, physical contact, advances, demands, requests, any sort of sexual favors, any remarks, any pornography discussions or exchanges, any other unwelcome communications from any side of the table that would be included. Next, to wrap this up, objective of the act was to prevent sexual harassment, provide protection and redressal, and promote the safest work environment that we can provide to the women working. Next, we have what constitutes a sexual harassment. Now, this also depends on the interpretation, the practical aspect that you may, experience actually defines and covers if it comes under the definition or doesn't. But by law, it says physical contact of a sexual nature will be covered. We discussed it in the last slide. Demands or requests would be covered. Remarks suggesting any sort of sexually jokes would be covered. Display of any pornography would be covered. Any unwelcome physical, verbal conduct of sexual nature will be covered. This also includes virtual or one-to-one transactions. So anywhere where these transactions are not happening at the face of the person, but is happening through the virtual modes, in the messages, in the emails, or any sort of video calls, that would also be covered. This is just an example. Yeah.
Namrata, I would like to add something for the virtual, like an example, a very simple example, just to make it better for understanding. So like I am in a meeting with my boss. At 6 o'clock, the meeting got over. Now my boss is calling me again that I want to discuss something which was left, which we forgot to discuss during that earlier meeting. Only you and me will be joining. And okay, the time my office hours are over, the discussion was over. It was completely over. So he called me for the meeting, and that too a video call. And I am not comfortable with that video call, and I simply can deny that I don't want to come over a video call. If you want to discuss this, we can discuss this over a phone, because the office hours are closed. My colleagues are not there, my teammates are not there. So this whatever is making you uncomfortable or unwelcome is the only word which has been interpreted further in every mode of this transactions, like either it is a verbal, physical, or the virtual. So in virtual, or if my boss is sitting with the video open, or any of my colleague is sitting with the video open and showing me something like some t-shirt he's wearing, or which is saying something which is not appropriate, or which is using some sexual symbols or sexual remarks, or something which is related to the sexual things. So such things will not be welcomed. So these such few small examples which are making a female uncomfortable during a virtual meeting can be included into the POSH or can be covered under the POSH. So this is very small example, and it happens. We face as a females, boss is calling after the office hours for a video call where you are not comfortable. You can simply not say this no, but you can say no to this.
Very aptly said, Pratibha. That is the thing, because the word what you used, unwelcome, uncomfortable, unwanted. These are all the things. It is very, to read in between the line. It actually makes you made it very clear. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, go ahead, Namrata.
Yes, sir. So Here we have a few examples to quickly go through just to understand what the definition says and talks about, just like you mentioned. So here, if a person is trying to appreciate you, it's fine. But if they tries to appreciate you beyond a limit, and that even if it feels like something wrong, you can come up and talk about it. The act does provide you the room, and thus the act takes the stand for it. So here are some examples. The first one is simply a conversation, but the intent does look like it is a sexual harassment. It can be a part of it. Secondly, in the second example, if someone shares some uncomfortable thoughts, how do you come up with it? How do you react? Is just an example. So you can simply put across your thoughts that your messages are making me uncomfortable, and thus the POSH Act would include all the proofs, and it can go back to the history and trace and then provide you relief. So these are the facts here, the examples here. Second, sexual harassment, it can also be a public display of affection in the office premises. Uh, Proposing to your colleagues despite their consent can also be a part of it. Calling nicknames, as you said, it can be a part of it. Frequently calling for meetings, just rightly put up by you, is also covered. So yes, these are the things. A little example, maybe one of hundreds that would actually cause the grounds for redressal. Now, we talk about a lot uh, about where it would cover, what could be the workplace, right? So it's important to understand what are the examples where behavior will constitute the sexual harassment, and what are the examples where behavior will not constitute the sexual harassment. So here, if it's making sexually suggestive remarks, it will. Serious or repeated offensive remarks, such as testing related to a person's body or appearance, teasing related to it, yes. Displaying sexist or other offensive pictures, sharing someone's pictures without their consent, yes. Intimidation, threats, blackmail around sexual favors, definitely yes. Unwelcome social invitations with sexual overtones, commonly understood as flirting, yes. Threats, intimidation, or retaliations against an employee who speaks up about unwelcome behavior or sexual overtones, yes. As Pratibha said in the very beginning, it's more about interpretation throughout the act, throughout the actions, and throughout the process, because many of this can be taken by a few as normal acts and gestures, while others might feel a little hurt about it, and so does the concept of intent come into the act. Here, some examples of workplace behavior that may not constitute sexual harassment would be if the work uh, is due and the person is following up on it, it's not a sexual harassment. Requiring performance on job standards, no. Normal exercise of management rights, no. Work-related stress, example, meeting deadlines or quality standards, it's not a sexual harassment. Conditions of work, constructive feedback about the work, it will not constitute, right? Now, we talked about workplace everywhere, but what does technically workplace would mean in the act is very relevant, because that defines the scope if the act would be covered in it or not. So first of all, any organization where the person is working, it will be a workplace. It could be government organization, government company, corporations, cooperative societies. It can be in the private sector, as ma'am mentioned. It can be in the private, public sector, whatever, structured, unstructured, whatever. So private sector organizations, venture, society, trust, hospitals, nursing homes, sports institutes, uh, stadiums, training institutes, places visited by the employee arising out or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer. A dwelling place or house, any enterprise owned by an individual or self-employed workers engaged in the production of sale of goods or providing services of any kind, or any enterprise which employs less than 10 workers. Also, this is specific specifically defined because the Act talks about majorly where the 10 or more workers are there in the organization, and thus the Act imposes more compliances. So these are the areas which majorly covers all the places where you go during the working hours or for work. So this would be included in the workplace.
Namrata, just to elaborate here, that all the organizations, structured, unstructured, whether you have a female employee or not, you will be covered. See, one thing is unstructured, less than 10 employees, whether male or all the males, then also POSH Act will be applicable. Another thing is more than 10 employees, but you have all the males, then also you will be covered under the Act. Because what we talked about in the beginning was aggrieved women or whom it is applicable to is can be a walk-in women also. So if you do not have a permanent employee as a female permanent employee, but you can have a walk-in employee, walk-in person, a female walk-in. So it is never be a concern that we do not have any female employees, so we should not be having a posh policy and all that. So workplace where all the employees all includes males and females, it can be either females or males, or it can be a combination. So just to clarify here. Thank you.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
it.
Next, we talked
Can
about
we take the
work.
can we take some questions?
Even in the Act also says more than 10 employees. It doesn't say it is only a male employee or female employee. It doesn't say. The Act
Right.
also says more than 10 employees. That is the wording which is used actually in the Act actually. As you rightly put it, whether it is the male or female, the matters is all employees. That's all. As you rightly say, yes, the compliances depends upon the nature of the people who are employed, male, women, and then when you come to the committee, then combination of the committee consisting, all those things will be the separate legal framework which you'll have to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ashwini is right. We can take the questions. So many questions are there.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. So Ashwini, you will take it, means read it out for the.
No, I'll read out. There's no problem. I'll read out.
Yeah.
Would like to know your thoughts about the recent Jake and astronomers Andy Ryan and Kishore Carrot in concept. What do you think of the relationship with work colleagues, especially boss and her direct reportees? Can they defend the relationship due to nature of work?
So I would like to say here one thing, that usually companies have a policy that not to have any kind of personal relationships during the premises. And if both parties are giving consent to that, despite knowing that is already a breach, you cannot, it's just not under the POSH Act, it is already a breach. So I do not understand. I think might be possible they must be having some policy regarding that, and usually the companies have. But if they are pursuing such relationships despite having a official relationship, I think it should be put some break over that. Reason being, it actually impacts the as a whole the environment of the company. So for me, I think that action where both of them were engaged, and uh, I am assuming they might have the consent. It is okay to have a relationship, but you are already breaching few things which are not acceptable in the work culture. So not covered under the POSH, but it is, yes, it is not acceptable as a society or as a workplace at large, I would say, if the consent was there from both the sides.
Yeah, as you rightly said, it will not be under the post policy, but it will be under the HR policy of the company, where the company has got its own culture. So that is what it will actually apply. Yeah. Next thing we'll see. It will be the post case if the other employees complain about her over increasing closeness of HR persons and company head.
Again, I would say the policies define. Usually, we should not be keeping all such things, because posh is something else. But working in an environment, it makes you, because you're keeping those relationships which will be impacting your work. Then this may sow a seed for the incidences for POSH, I would say. You may get into a situation which we call quid pro quo in the POSH Act. That might be possible that you are getting attached to someone out of the emotions, but in later stages, that person is taking advantage of your things, that okay, give me this and I will be giving you the promotion, or I will be giving you the salary hike. So it is actually the sowing the seeds for the POSH incidences to come in the later stages, I would say. So better we should be avoiding all such things in the workplaces.
Could not be the POSH Act have been gender neutral? It presupposes only the one gender can be victim sexual harassment, whereas in real life both genders are actually suffering. No doubt the majority of the victims are women, but why exclude men as victims? I think you said in the beginning only actually, you can take the guideline from this act, but they have got the recourse of the action, the other act. I think probably in today's thing, I think it's IPC, which is the new Bharatiya Nyaya Act, which has actually come BNS. That is under the act, you can actually apply for it. That's what I feel. Your view,
Yes.
Pradeepa?
Also, sir,
Yes.
I would like to add that there are statistics that show that more than 50% of women are being harassed, and the statistics for men is almost 19 to 20%. And unreported incidents of women are 78 to 80% in an organization. So I think somewhere we have to, I mean, have a specific act for women, though already, as I said, most of the organizations have gender neutral policy, but at least one policy, because we are covering government organizations, all sorts of organizations. So there, I think this is a necessity coming from like for the women.
Very
Yes.
rightly said, Ashwini ma'am. So the thing is, I would say the intent when the POSH Act came, it was for the women only. It can be for the men also. I'm not denying that, because they also need the protection. I'm not denying, I'm not against that. The thing is, under this specific act, men are not covered. You have different sources, different way outs to get you being heard by the people, by the society, and you can opt those ways, I would say. You can definitely go to your IC committee if you have the IC in your company, but they will not be doing all the processes as per the act. But if you have the general neutral policy, they will be definitely, they'll be going to listen to you. But just this act, for the sake of the act, it's for the women only, but it doesn't say that you are not protected. We have the Constitution of India, we have IPC, we have CRPC. So though they all these acts are covering you, they are protecting you also. Your rights, your duties, everything, they are completely secured under these acts, just not the POSH Act. So eliminate the POSH Act. Apart from that, you have everything. So don't get afraid of this, I would say.
So we can say that
Yeah.
all citizens were having protected, but since this gender was subject to an easy target for this harassment, and it was proven by history, the government came out with this Special Protection Act. This is the point to be noticed. Thank you.
I think next question also related to the same thing. What about the men? Can they have any redressal mechanism? That you talk about it now. Do we need a constitute the ICC for every workplace of the company where more than 10 employees are employed, or one committee at the central office which actually caters to all workplaces?
Shrini ma'am, would you
Pratibha,
like
would you like to? Okay, I'll say. According to me, all workplaces should have a separate IC committee. It cannot be HO guiding all the workplaces. So if you have locations, you have a head office in Mumbai, locations across India. Across India, wherever you have the locations, you need to have a separate IC committee. Separate external member, I guess, can be the same, but the people, the presiding officer, and all have to be from that workplace location only. That is my view.
So, in addition to what Ashwini ma'am said, the logic behind having the IC at different zones is that, see, I am working in the Mumbai branch of a company and my HO is in Gurgaon. So, I do not know the people who all are there in IC, because they all are based at Gurgaon. So I will feel a little bit hesitant to talk to them to whatever is happening with me. I will not be comfortable talking to them. So this is the logic behind having a zonal IC. So whoever, if there is a IC which has been constituted at Mumbai, I will definitely be knowing the people who all are there in IC, and I will be more comfortable with them, talking to them. Maybe I'm using my native language, or I might be seeing them in my office premises. They are coming and going. So it makes me more comfortable. So the idea behind the act is to come up and speak whatever is happening around. So this is also one logic behind having all the ICs. So sometimes company says, why we do not have so many employees, why do we need to have these ICs and all that? So this is the logic actually. Make the aggrieved or make the employees comfortable to come up and speak and share whatever they have in their minds. That's it.
Practically, I also seen where the companies are having a manufacturing units in 2, 3 locations. Each location, they have actually set up the IC committee for that particular location. That is what I have seen, which I like to share here. Is it mandatory for a company even where women are not employed? I think we talked about it in the beginning. When we talk about the application of the act itself, we talked it applies to all the companies, irrespective of men or women, because there are working people are also there. That's what we talked about. It has been 12 years since the law is in place. Do you think POSH for men is on the agenda, particularly when women bosses are also increasing?
I think this question is same like it was asked earlier also, that for men, women bosses are increasing, no doubt, and the working culture is also changing. But this act is specifically restricted to for the protection of females, so we can't help that. We
Correct.
always have the other options, and we are protected. Don't just feel that we are unprotected. We are protected, but under other laws. This act is specifically for women. So even the bosses, you can go, you can talk. There are way outs. How we need to portray, how we need to present our things. It should not be coming out of some grudges or something like that. It should be presented in a way that we want to be heard. So I think the intent should be clearly spoken out. That should be there.
I think next question also raised same repetitive question. Is it the male employees are protected? We talked about it. What about the educational institute? Yes, of course, educational institution also actually covered, actually speaking, because all the establishment will be actually covered. Even the press reporters or housekeeping staff should be covered.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Obviously, it is. Yes. Does this strength of the 10 covers also contractual employees?
Yes.
Specifically given in the definition also.
Who has visited the premises for some work are also covered. Yes, we talked about that actually.
Even someone is coming for an interview, they are also covered.
Yeah, correct. That's right. POSH Act applies to all organizations, even of the working people who include women. Yeah, that is there actually. What should be the constitution of the internal compliance committee? I think that is coming in the future position. She is going to discuss actually. You can wait for that. If a woman is visiting, her spouse is also covered in any or all women covered in the workplace.
Exactly, yes. Complete, yes.
How many meetings of the IC should be held every year? I think this is a fundamental question. You should go through the act. You should not ask this question at this forum actually. Whether internal complaint committee need to be constituted if 10 employees are male or no female employees.
This we took up earlier also.
Yeah, this also we took up this earlier also. We said actually act says only 10 employees.
But Mr. Bala, that number of committee meeting we have covered
Yeah.
in presentation, and if not that, if we can answer, it's okay. Someone has asked them. Let's
Okay.
hear. Okay,
Yeah.
if we covered in presentation, we'll cover it later. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
When the separate bathroom for gents are laid compulsory with POSH cover transgenders and other groups?
The POSH Act doesn't talk about the washrooms and all, but yes, for the sake of security or hygiene, I would say, the company should be having the separate washrooms. Transgenders or the third genders, whatever the identified genders, they are not covered under the POSH Act. POSH Act is specifically only and only for the females. They are covered and protected under other acts, but not under the POSH Act.
To add to you, when you come to the separate bathroom for gents, ladies, etc., it is actually covered under the other acts which is applicable under labor laws. It's
Labor
very
laws,
clearly
yes.
mentioned there. It is there. They are governed by that under that particular act. People have to have it separately. There's other acts are covering this aspect, though not the POSH Act. Because basically POSH Act is actually, recognizing the women, their respect and the sexual harassment. The purpose is totally different. That is why POSH Act is not talking about this. If scold to woman subordinate for work which is not done by her, will it fall to the POSH ambit?
It won't.
If
The words you are using, scolding her, if you are specially targeting her being a woman, you are not doing that and you are not meant to do that. If such terms are used, then definitely can come under the POSH ambit. But if you're simply scolding her that this work is not done and it was supposed to be done earlier, the way the bosses should be talking or bosses should be guiding or scolding, whatever. But it should be under the boundaries of being a boss. Just be the boss of the person. Do not judge the person being a woman. I think this should be.
Yeah, here it is more of the behavior rather than anything. If you are following up the work and other things and all these things, the routine course, yes, she gave the example actually. What constitute harassment, what does not constitute harassment, she highlighted actually. It all depends upon the behavior actually. Because one can make out what is the behavior which is actually coming even from the tone of the things also. Yeah.
It can be said that if you are dealing a person or an individual for the work as your employee only, not with gender specific, then it is workable. Anything you make it gender specific, whether man or woman, will be problem. So you make the statement and your communication as an employee only relevant to the work, then it is safe. Okay.
Can the boss ask the lady employees to stay beyond the office hours almost every day? And can the lady employee legally say about her discomfort to stay in late hours?
See, sir, we have to understand the fact that this act is related to sexual harassment. So there has to be a sexual undertone to any activity that is being done. If the entire office is sitting late hours and this female is leaving at 6 p.m. and then she's asked to sit because your entire team is sitting, then this is not a sexual harassment. However, there was one case wherein the entire office was in a hybrid mode and the boss used to call her when the other female members of the team were not there. She was all alone in the team. She used to be called to office and she expressed her displeasure. Like, I will come with the entire team, then we may say that it's a sexual harassment. But females cannot take the advantage and say that the entire team is sitting, but I will leave at 6 p.m. and then call it a sexual harassment. That is my view. You cannot do that.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I agree with you. Suppose the female employee wears an inappropriate dress and the boss asks her to be modify the dresses. Will it be a post for the boss?
Boss says what, sir? Sorry, I didn't get that point.
Suppose the female employee wears an inappropriate dress and the boss asks her to be more modestly dressed. Will it be the post for the boss?
I don't think so.
No, here there are one thing is there. Let us forget about the post, but at the same time, what is acceptable in the society, the way you dress up, the way you come, because every organization has got dress code actually.
Exactly.
Every organization has got the dress code, every organization has got the ethical way, every organization has got certain thing, even many organizations have the uniform also. So in such a case, the inappropriate dressing when you are talking about, if it is not acceptable to the society as such, if the boss points out that, I think no such organization that will come under the POSH Act. That is my view.
But since this
What do
act
you
is there,
say?
I would suggest the boss to go through the HR in that case, not directly referring to that field.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be done, or simply by saying that I feel that you are not dressing as per the policy, the company's dress code policies, because yes, definitely all the companies today's era, they have the dress code policy, so just to maintain that decorum. So yes, they simply can say this is not more than that. If you are using different words, then you might get fall into the trap of the posh. So better just say it's not appropriate as per the policy. That's it.
Whether it is applicable to the schools? Yes, of course, it is applicable to all the places. Yeah. Could you actually present the previous page about the non-coverage of the few seconds? Okay, we will present that. We will show you to that. Where is the male supervisor not permitted if all employees are actually females? When and where is a male supervisor not permitted if all employees are females?
Never heard of such any uh, restriction or prohibition anywhere.
Yeah, there is no specific restrictions are there like that. Suppose, for example, if there's a tailoring unit is there, everybody is actually a tailoring a thing. Where is the question that it cannot be managed by the men? Only thing is, yes, this restrictions and prohibitions should be taken place. Preventive action should be taken place. That is the only thing. If it is applicable to the educational institution, for employees, it is workplace, but it is for the students. It is for everybody, whosoever it is actually. What about the women visitor in the office? I think we spoke about it. ICC requires one women employee as a member. If there are only male employees, how should the committee be constituted?
So for the presiding officer, the act clearly says that a female having the highest most designation in the entity. But in case if there is no female in that entity, the company can have two external. I mean, you need to comply, and you need to show that we have the intent to comply, because this is something you cannot help out. You cannot simply employ a female for constituting IC. So what you can do is you either can have two external people, external members, both females. So one can be a presiding officer and one can be an external member. Other way out, in few companies I have seen, when there are 10 people. So what they do is they employ either the family member, the female family member of any of the person from the management, or any of the person who is holding a good designation, which I feel should not be there, because that person will be controlling the opinions and views of that presiding officer. Presiding officer's role will get defeated. So for me, I usually suggest that you can have two external members rather
That
than.
is a good suggestion. Two
Yeah.
external female members. That will balance out the committee.
Exactly.
If a company does not have the women employee, is POSH applicable? I think we talked about this. Whether POSH applies to all the
Yes.
apex court and the high courts.
Yes.
Yes, it applies. If separate committee need to be made separate places of the work under the company having more than 10 employees each branch. Yes, this also
Yes.
we talked about it. What is the meaning of any enterprises employing less than 10? Is POSH applicable or not applicable when less than 10 are employed?
POSH is not applicable when less than 10 are employed.
Can HR be part of the ICC and also chair the ICC?
And sometimes the HR head is also a senior most female employee of the organization. In that case, yes.
Please help me understand the difference between ICC and IC. And is the ICC still required or less than 10 employees?
If less than 10 employees, ICC will not be required. Then if there is any case in such organization where there is no ICC and there are less than 10 employees, you can always go and make a complaint to the local committee. So this is given specifically in the Act.
Specifically in the Act, and LC is something which is controlled and owned by the central government only. I mean, the state government, sorry. The state government of that particular district will be controlling and owning the LC. It is a local committee. In the absence of IC, you can simply go there.
Yes.
If
So
you are
where
not
less than 10
yes.
employees are
Yes. So it is for the unstructured organizations, basically, we say. So where there is no structure. The structured organization having 10 or more employees, they simply have the IC and that's it. How they can proceed through the IC.
Dress code and POSH. I think you talked about the things. Earlier also there was a question on there. What are the basic compliances that would be considered and adhered to under the POSH Act? I think she is going to discuss this
We'll
in
be
the future
discussing, yes.
presentation. How often POSH training to be conducted by the company? There is no frequency of the training or something. The awareness is required to be created. People should be aware of it because the whole idea is the prevention and taking care. That is what it is actually required. Can POSH training be held
I think,
virtually?
can we go ahead now?
Yearly one session can be done, and it can be done online also. There is no bar, like it has to be done in person or anything.
I think we can take presentation now. Let her complete also presentation. What do you feel? Panelist?
Sure,
Can
ma'am.
POSH invoke against senior for her? Can POSH invoke against a women senior for her women employee? That's a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can, Mr. Bala, we can take presentation. Otherwise, this question continues. Now, let's finish the presentation and then take, because certain things may be there in the presentation as well.
Yes.
Okay, no problem. We'll do that.
Because the
Yeah.
question will, participants, you put the question. Now we'll take all the question at the end of the session. Let's finish it off. So you
Okay.
will have more points also and we can add it on. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
I'm just jumping a few slides because we have answered a few questions regarding all this. So, coming to this, what is the responsibility of an employer when we talk about POSH? So, any organization with 10 or more employees should cover and comply with the POSH Act. They should set up a IC committee. They should display the POSH policies at workplace, which means they should conduct the continuous training and orientation program. Team or employees should be aware that the act is in place. The committee is there that can listen to them. They can go and complain about any situation to that committee. Maintaining confidentiality of complaint, taking actions against offenders. Failure to comply with POSH can also result in penalty. It can fine the company up to 50,000, which in some situations in the cases have seen that if there are continuous breach or the second time or third time with the same offense, it can double or triple the amount that way. Then we have license cancellation for repeated non-compliance as well. Now, we talk about internal committee and employer, of course, but at the local level, there is a local committee and district officer also in place that in the Act has been designated to handle POSH cases where the internal committee is not functioning well or there is no internal committee. In situations like that, the employees can actually go to the local committees or the district officers. So here, not spending too much time, but let's just understand who can the district officer be. The district officer can either be a district magistrate, additional district magistrate, collector, deputy collector, or whoever as appointed in the place of district officer at the local level. Now, there's a responsibility list as well, which is very similar to what the employer responsibility list was, to create a detailed policy, to have the orientation and awareness programs, to provide a mechanism for redressal, to train the committees at both skill and capacity levels, to prepare annual report and to report it to the respective state governments. Just like this, even in the private limited companies or any other company with applicable POSH, there are reportings done in the annual report right now. We'll talk about it. later. Appointment of a nodal officer by the district officer to receive complaints at the local level. This was just to ensure that in case your company doesn't have it, you can also go to this officers or people to have your complaints registered. Now, the law provides that any organization with 10 more employees must constitute IC committee. Now, what this IC committee would look like, So just how we discussed, the IC must be headed by the presiding officer, who is a senior female employee. So I don't know where I lost last, but this is three extensive detailed slides that talk about the private limited company where the POSH is applicable. So firstly, it applies to, all the organizations with 10 plus. So it also includes a private limited company. So any private limited company with 10 plus must have a POSH. In case the company has less than 10, then there are suggestive guidelines. For example, they should have awareness and orientations to not, promote, rather demotivate such actions. But with 10 plus, they have mandatory guidelines and compliances. The penal provision talks about an employer can be subject to a penalty of 50K, as we last discussed, for failure to constitute IC, for failure to act upon recommendations of the complaints committee, or for failure to file an annual report to the district officer where required, or contravening or attempting to contravene or any of the rules of the act. Now, where an employer repeats, the punishment or the penalties can be doubled. Now, there are advisories. For example, proactive compliance, implement a robust POSH committee, even if it's not applicable for your safety. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
You are very much audible. You can go ahead. You are very much audible.
Advisories are like to have POSH policies beforehand if it's applicable, and to train employees regularly, have a confidentiality schemes in place, like the inquiries, proceedings, and redressal will be very confidential. So the person coming for the complaint should feel protected against it. Legal consultation, POSH experts should be appointed, professionals should be invited. They should conduct frequent trainings and workshops in the organization. And of course, gender sensitivity programs should be conducted very often to make the workplace a safe place. Again, here are the same policies and everything that are described. Training programs mandatory, policy mandatory, committee formation mandatory. One additional point is annual report. Now, the organizations are also required to file an annual report with the information of the number of sexual harassment complaints received in a year, the number of complaints disposed of in a year, and the cases pending for more than 90 days. So there has to be a clear reporting in the annual report. Then, just to clarify, in accordance with the request made by the Ministry of WC, Women and Child Development and Welfare, Corporate Affairs, it is now mandatory to disclose the company has implemented the provisions of sexual harassment. I mean, that's there where the MCA snatches away or, drags the power of POSH under its purview. So specifically speaking, it is now compulsory for a company to make a statement in director's report, as we last discussed. Now, sexual harassment at workplace are or the employers are responsible for complying for prohibition. In practice, this means having a policy that would define the POSH. So it's again the very similar things that we have answered in the question, what exactly we need to do when we have a POSH committee in place, what all actions would be called for or required. So regular awareness, capacity building meetings, confidentiality, and making the fact public that they have a committee in place. Then I think, in my opinion, this is by far the most important or most crucial part, where you need to know how do you go about filing a complaint, right, to the IC committee or to the district officer at the local level. So step one would be to first acknowledge the receipt of the complaint. So firstly, when a person comes with the complaint, the department or the committee should submit a complaint. The complainant should submit to the committee in writing within 3 months of the incident. And then from there, the committee shall take this up with the guidelines of the Act. Now, they should meet and talk to the complainant to explore options to find a resolutions formally or informally. Informal mechanism could be to the person designated to receive and manage the complaint responsible to explore enabling ways to address the complaint if the complainant chooses to adopt the informal process. This can include counseling, educating, orienting. This basically, of course, comes down to the same point, that the intent, because at times when actions are not towards the sexual harassment situations, but the interpretation is such, then people might go for informal mechanism or counseling. Also can go at situations which get worse. Then we have formal mechanism to take calls, discuss it, give notices, and then respond. So step fifth is to respond and response within 7 days of receiving a complaint in writing. Then we have planning carefully about the situation, create an independent confidential file of the complaint, review the law and policy, because practically speaking, every incident brings to the knowledge of the committee a different situation, and that can also help the committee to restructure the policy from time to time. Then consideration, if the injury is such that requires a monetary considerations or a clear communication of any other sort of consideration should be placed well. Then interviews, prepare an interview plan for the hearing, complainant, witnesses, respondent, etc. And lastly, to assess the completeness of the information collected. Reasoning, then we have finding and recommendations. If there are crucial findings, we need to take it up further, and then basis that the committee will award or close the case basis it. Then final reporting will be done, and then further within 90 days, a final report will be submitted to the district officer or the internal committee. 7 days was the timeline to first take a call and to report it and to take it further from there. But within 90 days, the case has to be resolved. And then from here, we have an inquiry process, which was also covered earlier in the slide. Then we have penalties that were discussed, a timeline crisply reported. Then this, I think, is also another important thing, that now with increased number of cases, a nationwide, multiple forums or guidelines or helplines have been created for women where they can just give a call and report what they are going through. They can inform the independent organizations like National Legal Services Authority, SHE-BOX, Emergency Response Support System, Nationwide Helpline, National Commission for Women. There are multiple more, but these are the centralized organization that are working for this cause. Now here, Pratibha ma'am, if we can talk about SHE-BOX more, because this is something very new and also is very helpful to the women right now in the POSH area. Yeah.
So SHE-BOX portal is actually a mechanism launched by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Recently, in a very recent office order, I would say, it was said that every entity has to register their details, the details of the IC member with the SHE-BOX portal. And if any women, whoever is not satisfied or whoever does not wants to go with IC's route, I mean the act the route provided in the act through IC, they simply can go to the SHE-BOX portal. Although the notification, the recent office order, I would not say the notification which was there in place, it was saying the registration of of all the cases, posting all the cases, whatever have been registered with the company. to be notified with the SheBox portal. But as per my understanding, the Act specifically safeguards the identity of the people who all are involved in the cases. The POSH Act, whatever the POSH case comes with the IC committee, they have to protect their identities. They have to keep them secret. So this order, because it's yet to be get notified, so I feel if the company will post all the details over there, it will actually disclose the details of the people who all are involved into that. The aggrieved and the defendant both will be exposed over there. So it's under the concern already that whether this needs to be taken further or not. But with my opinion, if you want to go with the SheBox portal is available for all the women, whoever wants to file any sort of complaint with regard to the POSH or the sexual harassment. You simply can go and report your complaint. Even the companies have to report their cases, whatever they are handling and whatever they have disposed of. So this is something which is actually, it is very new for us, for all of us. But there are few amendments, there are few improvements which I feel are required, because the very recent office order is quite contradictory with the Act. So when we are disclosing all the details over on the website with the SheBox portal, then company will not be able to protect the identities of the aggrieved and the defendant. But otherwise, it is a very good platform. If your IC is not listening to you, if your IC is not appropriately constituted, or if you feel that you are unheard in your own company, then you definitely go and take the help of the SheBox portal. This is what I understand from this.
Perfect, ma'am. Moving forward, there are some myths that we should at this point discuss and clarify. Firstly, this act is specifically for women. We all have noted it, but yes, even the men that have issues or concerns can go and uh, talk about it, where the internal policies and HR policies, etc., can take a call and resolve the matter for them as well. So only men can be harassed? No. Sexual harassment can be perpetrated by anyone, regardless of gender identity, which is the reason probably why we have a gender neutral policies in place today. Next, we have sexual harassment is always physical. Fact, it's not always physical. It can be verbal, non-verbal, physical, direct, or implied. Offensive comments, slightest of the jokes, gestures, anything could actually be including it. Then we have the myth sexual harassment only occurs in the physical workplace. No, it can even happen at a workplace which is virtual. Work from home or any other premise can also be covered, and that can also lead to such situation. Then we have no physical injury means no sexual harassment. No, the absence of physical injury doesn't negate the experience of sexual harassment. The impact on the victim's well-being is paramount. Sexual harassment requires repeated actions. No, one single incident of inappropriate behavior that creates a hostile work environment can constitute sexual harassment. After these, we only have the case studies, where the first is it's for an IT firm based out of Bangalore, where a female employee started receiving suggestive messages late at night from her team leader over WhatsApp. She ignored at first, but later reported it when the tone became aggressive. The undertone, as Ashwini ma'am said, need to be sexually, impacted. That's what was the case here. The ICC found the messages violated workplace conduct norms, and the leader was further demoted, and sensitization workshops were made mandatorily company-wide. Which the takeaway here is virtual harassment is equally actionable under POSH.
And this
Next
is
we
very,
have-
very common kind of harassment, you can say. This is very common. And females sometimes they fear come out and speaking about all this, because it usually it is they feel that we'll be impacted. Nobody will going to take the action against our managers or our, because they are senior people, so nobody will be taking the action. So this is really, I mean, in my whole career, I have seen so many cases like this one. So this is very common.
Next, we have the promotion condition. Finance company Mumbai. A senior manager hinted to a junior female employee that personal favors could help her get promoted. She recorded the conversation and filed a complaint. Outcome was the IC validated her complaint. Senior manager was terminated and the company updated its sexual harassment policies. So as I said, with the every incident, the policy keeps updating. Takeaway was quid pro quo, direct violation of Section 3(2) of POSH Act. Next, we have the retaliation drama, advertising film Delhi. Here, after a female intern filed a POSH complaint, she was given poor performance reviews and eventually terminated. However, the outcome was the IC ruled this as a retaliation, which is prohibited under the Act. She was reinstated, and the HR head was issued a warning for policy failure. Takeaway was retaliation against a complaint is a separate offense under POSH. Next, we have the Friendly Touch Pharma Company, Hyderabad. A male employee placed his hands on a female colleague's shoulder during meeting and made comments like, "You're like a little sister." This was an uncomfortable gesture, and the female was uncomfortable. The outcome was the IC held that such physical gestures, even if not sexual in intent, were unwelcome. Unwelcoming, the key word here. Counseling and written apology were recommended. Unwelcome behavior plus impact on women is always more than the intent behind the action. So, what you intend with, but what it is perceived like impacts more. False complaint fiasco. Startup Pune. A woman filed a harassment complaint against a male colleague after a personal argument. Investigation showed no bias and evidence suggested malicious intent. The IC declared it as a false and malicious complaint. She received a warning and a record was maintained in her file. Takeaway: POSH protects the innocent too. False complaints are penalized under Section 14.
But I feel that this should be a part of the POSH policy. If there is a malicious complaint or anything, what action the company is willing to take has to be always kept, has to be there in the POSH policy itself. Because most of the times people now just like to throw POSH complaint against each other. I don't know, most of them don't even understand. Half of the times, I don't know what is Pratibha's experience, but my experience is most of the times you have to say this is not a POSH complaint and we have to counsel and tell them to take that back. But very important that action should be taken if there is any false and malicious complaint, because there is a grapevine in every organization. However tight you try to protect, people will know that there has been a complaint against a male or a female, and then there is a lot of loose talk that happens in the organization. So there should be some precedents in the POSH policy to prevent this kind of complaints also.
Actually, yes, you are very much right with this. The malicious complaints are very much common these scenarios. I did not got the increment during this year, so I think my boss must be punished for this from my side. But this is a grudge I will keep, and I will keep thinking about that. What should I be doing so that he should learn the lesson? So these kind of cases are very, very common in today's era. One more thing I would like to add on to this. So, absence of, or you are not able to present the evidence correctly, or in the absence of evidence, the complaint cannot be treated as malicious. So these are two different things. If you do not have the appropriate or the proper evidence to present your good complaint, will not be treated as malicious. Malicious complaint is it is coming out of something else. So there is a very thin line difference between the two. We need to understand. So don't get scared that because I do not have the evidence, I cannot file or I cannot report this incidents. No, you always can. It's just the lack of evidence. Okay, that will be taken care later. How the IC will take care, it is their concern. It's not yours. But filing a complaint with some personal grudge, with some other intent just to defame the other person, that comes under the malicious complaint. This is what I would like to add.
Yes, I do.
So this is it from my side in the presentation. We may take the questions, Ashwini ma'am, if it feels right now.
Yeah. Okay. Alifia has raised her hand. Does she have a question? Alifia?
So, I just wanted to ask regarding time, and again, we have said it is men are not included or the policy should be gender neutral. But how effective it is for organization practically to have such, you can say, implementation of policies for men too, if there is any malicious complaint. Is this happening practically or just it is there on paper?
It is happening practically, yes. So they can also approach ICC in that case, because where they have a gender neutral policy, though they will not be liable under the POSH Act, or the penalties will not be under the POSH Act, but ICC can take complaints for harassment of men in the organization. And I can tell you so many companies, in fact, wherever I am an external member, most companies are having gender neutral policies.
So we can say even men are heard on such
Yeah,
complaints.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll just take the questions. If during the course of employment, some visit different workplace, but is harassed by his or her colleague, where would be the complaint be filed? It would be filed with the ICC only, because it is during the workplace. During workplace only. Sorry.
And their own IC. I mean, because his or her colleague. So both of the employees are of the same organization. So
And for during work hours and for the purpose of work, they are outside of the organization. Where the advocates are protected under POSH, where the Bar Council is an establishment under the Act.
So they
Bar Council is not an establishment, but I think courts are not.
Courts are not. Actually, in a recent, there is one judgment from Bombay High Court where they have given an exception to the bar and the advocates to be included under this. So there is a recent judgment from the Bombay High Court. So apart from that, the Act covers it, but because it is a judgment by the High Court, so yes, it is. It's like that. So they have eliminated them that, okay, it should not be covering the bar members and bar councils. Because Act clearly says that the cancellation of license and all might be, this is somewhere linked with that.
Okay.
So that is why it's not covered for them.
Okay. If a company bank, I think this is the same question, branches, whether they will have an IC committee. But I think this is about the banks with numerous branches having 10 or more in same city. Still every branch needs to have ICC. I don't think so. I think in one city they can have one IC committee. What should be the constitution of internal? How many males and females? Are there any qualifications prescribed? Are outsiders included in IC? Qualifications, I think designations are prescribed, and qualification for external member is prescribed. Rest, you can have any combination of IC committee. Can you explain she-box? I think you have very clearly explained about she-box and all. We have 25 employees with 1 woman HR and 24 men. In this case, can you guide how do we set up IC committee? I think the women HR will be the head of presiding officer. Rest 2-3 male members and 1 external member. That is how it is.
So basically, the constitution provided for IC in the Act is 1 is presiding officer, that senior most female employee, 2 male members or 2 female members, or 1 male, 1 female. So it simply says the members. So it can be as per the discretion of the company, and 1 external member. So depending upon if you have 1 female and 1 male member, you can have a female or a male external member, but preferably it is suggested to have a female external member, because the members during members of the IC may get changed. So you have to keep the IC constitution once it formed for at least for 3 years. So you have to keep it maintained. So it is suggested one female, the senior most employee, external member, and two members. So the genders are not identified, or you can say defined, but you can keep that ratio, maintain the ratio of male and female. It should not be male dominating IC. So basically, this is.
If we have 10 plants, factories in Gurgaon, can we have one IC for all Gurgaon plants and factories?
This can be done because it is quite impractical to form IC in every plant. What you can have is you can either appoint one member from each plant. That person can be a representative of that particular plant. I think that may help, but you cannot have different ICs for different plant. It's on the same location, I can see. So in that scenario, no, we usually keep the zones allocated, like southern zone, northern zone. So like that, we form the ICs. This is suggested.
KK Saini has written, I have a question before ending this session, request to address it. KK Saini can unmute and talk.
Okay. We'll be addressing it right now, or what? Any questions before ending, request to address it. Okay, we will. You can write your question right now also if you want to.
If the company is having different branch offices in different cities, annual return to be submitted must be consolidated, or we must submit the annual return separately for different locations.
So here the suggestion is how your employees are getting the salary. So usually the companies have a trend of posting the location of their employees, because every state has their own structure of taxes and all. So if you are showing in your books that employee is based out of that particular location, then definitely, because in your books only you are showing it, so you have to report that employees or that entity or that branch of yours to that particular state. And also, plus reporting to the state, you also can consolidate and file a central report also.
Qualification of the tenure of the employment in the company. Asked this question earlier also. How to determine the seniority, age, or qualification, tenure of employment in the company? I don't get the question actually, because it's all much, it depends upon what age is determine the seniority. Second thing, how long you are there, that will depend upon the tenure. What is the question? I don't understand really speaking. What is this is being asked here? Is it in connection with the senior member should be in the ICC committee or something like that? I don't know. If that is the case, we talked about it. Whether the outside member in the committee is required to be from any NGO, yeah, it can be. Okay, outside person should be from anywhere. There is no bar. It should not be from here. It should not be from there. It is not the question. I think so.
The act specifically says the person having the background working for this cause basically may be associated with an NGO or not, because there are guidelines issued by Institute of Company Secretaries of India also saying that a CS can also be external member. Reason being, they also are aware of the act. They know how to interpret the act. They know how to handle the cases. So the intent is just not the NGO. See, if NGO person is not able to understand the act, then the purpose will get defeated. So the intent behind the act is to give the justice, do the justice. So I think it should be the basic understanding. The person should be having a good understanding about the law, and he or she needs to know how to handle the cases and all that.
Correct, absolutely correct. Is it not more than 50% female should be there in the committee?
Yeah.
If any sexual harassment happen for those working from co-working place, please advise where to report the case if the no working place knows not to have any POSH policy, as many companies using such premises.
So if you are working from co-working place, why are you going to the co-working place? You are allotted that co-working place by your company only. You will be working there. If on the behalf of the company you are going there, you have been allocated some places. So definitely you are working there because of your job. So definitely you can go to your IC committee. If you do not have the IC, then the she box is there, LC is there. You can opt for the other options.
Is the meeting of ICC compulsory in a year?
Sorry, sir, can you please repeat?
Is the meeting of ICC compulsory in a year?
Yes, it is definitely compulsory. How will you keep the check over the incidences? How will you keep the check that the company is doing its job well? The employer's first job is to prevent. So the prevention take place. The training sessions or the awareness sessions are frequently taking place in the companies. But if IC is not meeting or if IC is sleeping, the other system will sleep. So IC should be meeting. At least it is suggested that at least every 6 months IC should be meeting, or we can also follow the pattern we follow for our board meetings. That is every quarter end.
After the post complaint, do we need to also give a police complaint?
It's depending upon the female who is been impacted by the action. But first, the suggestion is to keep the discussion with your IC only. Discuss and understand. Sometimes what happens is we perceive things differently, but the actions of the other person are different. Their intent is nowhere in that action. See, someone is staring, looking at something, and you just simply pass by, or you are standing there, but that person is somewhere else in his thoughts. But you think that he is staring at you, but technically that person is not staring at you. And you simply go and file the return that he was staring at my breast and all that. So you need to understand, you need to sit over a table and discuss and understand that whether the scenario, whatever you are perceiving from that incident, is actually it is or not. So it is always suggested to talk on the table, discuss. If you find it difficult, or if you find that IC is not supportive and the person they are defending the defendant, or the scenario is something else, then definitely you have other options. But in first instance, go to the IC and discuss. This is the scenario and understand. Might be possible you also are perceiving things differently. Can happen, and usually it happens also. So it's okay.
Would you present the slide showing the cases which do not constitute sexual harassment? Yeah, we will do that. After the questions are over, we'll do that. Is a nil return to be filed? How can the online return be filed if so?
For different states, it is different. Somewhere they accept physical report, and somewhere they accept I'm assuming this is annual report, right? I cannot read
correct.
the question.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is.
So
I don't
in Gurgaon, we report just by sending the email. So in Delhi, it's not like that. We have to send the physical copy also. So it depends on the states completely.
If we have the POSH policy, that is the gender neutral, will it be considered as a non-compliance of the POSH or not considered as a desired POSH policy?
So you are basically making the law stringent, I would say. You're making the things or incidences more stringent. So making anything stringent is not non-compliance. This is what I understand. So you're making it more stricter. It is for everyone, including POSH and excluding the females also. So no, it's not a non-compliance.
If the woman is initially okay with the flirting or any such things like teasing and talking and complaints lightly, and the men are actually behaving in such a way which is generally normal for them, but otherwise she complains to internal committee that such behavior of considering behavior constituting the external, whether the man get punished. Can you please share the same and explain?
I would say, even if you are talking to someone, or even if a female is in any kind of conversation with someone, that consent is for that specific event. So if my colleague is asking me to go to come for a coffee, I gave the consent, okay. But next day I am not comfortable going out. Maybe I have evaluated something which I'm feeling that is not up to the mark, or which I am feeling it's not good for me. I should not be, because I'm not feeling comfortable with that person. So you may feel comfortable at any point of time. But how to handle the complaint, it is the part of the IC. You can report if you are feeling uncomfortable. those things will come up because you were comfortable earlier, but why you can always at any point of time you can feel uncomfortable, and if you want to stop those incidences to happen again, you always can report. But you also need to understand that how it will be taken care, or how it will be, whether it will be going into the process of proper inquiry and all, or whether it will be just sorted with the counseling and all. So these are the things that which are taken care by the IC. But yes, you can complain because consent is for that particular incidence.
Internal committee formation slide are missed out due to your network issues. Okay, that also we will present it after the end of the questions. Either act like a POSH in USA, UK, and any other countries like Australia, Asia, Africa, etc.
Yes, this act is everywhere.
Could we have the soft copy of the presentation? Copy of the presentation is not shared, but the dissemination of the webinar is actually disseminated after the recording is done, which you can actually access. How many meetings of the committee recorded the contract in the year that we talked about it, I think so. Either a fine only for the company or to the offender individually.
Either the
Fine for only the company or to the offender individually.
I am not getting the question actually.
I think the question is not how the company doesn't come to the picture, because the question comes only the person who's actually making it responsible. In fact, the penalty provision, she said 50,000 rupees per person. So that means it is the person who's actually offender. It is not the company actually. Company may come for the penalty only when the disclosure is not made under the Companies Act, where the ROC takes up the matter, where the disclosure required to be made in the board report, etc., and other thing and all. There the company come into the picture. Otherwise, the POSH Act, if we are talking about it, it is between the offender only. It is not the company. During the audit, we observed the observation of the branch and both the female staff threatened that if you will not remove the observation, I'll be post complaint. What remedy available for us? I think I'll have to read from the beginning. Sorry. I am the auditor in a bank. During the audit of a branch, both later and the authorization of the female drop, we together visit the branch valued wherein the CCTV camera is actually not available. During the audit, we observed that the observation of the branch, then both the female staff threatened that if we will not remove the observation, you'll be a post complaint. What remedy available for us?
So the remedy is you can keep the transactions or whatever the documentation should be on the paper. First thing, I think everything should be recorded properly, whatever you are, because the person is not visible, what I understand from this. Audit, keep everything on the paper. If whatever is written on the paper, it cannot deny. Written and signed. Written and signed is the only recourse available, I would say.
Is IC required for the professional forms also? Is it mandatory, or are we talking only about the companies?
No, unstructured structure cover everyone.
Yeah, everything you have talked about it actually. Company having many offices in the some branches of the employees are less than 10. Do we need to ICC? I think this we talked about it. I think so. Can a male also be a part of the POSH team setup of the company as one female member, one female residing office, and one male member?
So the constitution, I think we already have explained. Member can be out of the two members, one can be a male also.
I think that's all the questions I have. We finished
There
off
is
with
one
all
question,
these
I
questions.
think, is shaking hands and hugging is offensive? This is the question, I think.
Yeah.
The last.
Let me go down some more. Any further thing is added. Because I started from the last. Let me go back.
Hands and hugging depending upon the culture of the company. If you are working within MNC, see that the culture MNCs carry with them is altogether different from any company incorporated who is carrying the culture of Indian culture, or maybe a government organization. If you see, they have a different culture. They do not believe in hugging and shaking hands, just greeting, good morning, and all that. But in MNCs, they follow this culture of shaking hands and hugging. So you need to understand. But if you are not liking that, you always can say, I'm not comfortable with that, in a very polite manner. I think they will definitely accept it, and they will definitely will not hug or shake hands. They try to understand your sentiments and emotions. Definitely, yes. So there is nothing wrong or right. If this is making you uncomfortable, you simply go and say, I'm not comfortable, uncomfortable, unwelcome.
Pratibha, to add your point,
Yes, sir.
I and my missus, we actually went to UK to receive some award actually. I was awarded the second World Best Company Secretary of the Year from the UK Institute.
Very nice, sir.
I was the only Indian who went there actually. That time when we went there, the foreign people were there. When I went there, as you rightly said, the gentleman came forward, they shook hand with me. Then the gentleman looked at my wife. She was in the sorry. She looked at her. Then immediately, some other, he thought for a moment. They said, Madam, I think in India, people say Namaste. Can I say like that? That is what he said. It is more of a behavior rather than anything else by judging the things. What is comfortable, what is not comfortable. Because you use the right word. Uncomfortable, unwanted move. That is what it is. That is to be
So
judged.
if it
That's
is
it.
unwelcome, you simply convey it. I just do not presume it that the intent of the person is something else. Just convey it. It is not like that. I'm not comfortable. That's it. Simple.
To add to that, my wife said, I've been working with the school for continuously for a longer period and all. I don't mind in shaking hand also. That's what she said actually. But he said, I prefer to namaste in Indian way, he said. So that is the thing. Okay. I think, Namrata, you know to present that slide of the what is not constitute the sexual things, harassment. That's what somebody wants to see the slide actually. Can you put the slide back, Namrata? He wants the slide which shows actually what does not constitute the sexual harassment. That slide he wants to see. I think Mr. Raghavan asked for that. Just to show the slide.
Sir, I'm unable to share screen right now. The recordings can make it available.
We can skip that. Recording is available. Sorry, if Namrata, you know, remember, say that few, what are the acts not covered, that will also help, you know, in the slide. Yeah, Namrata.
Yes, definitely.
You can orally say, no need to share the slides. Just you give the examples which are not considered as a sexual harassment.
Right. So there were some examples which do not constitute that was written there. So it was like if there was some work given, but the follow-up was done and it was a pressurized follow-up considering the urgency of the work, then it wouldn't constitute as a sexual harassment. Secondly, if a person is evaluated on the job standards and hence he or she is, asked to perform better or match the expected level, that wouldn't constitute. Next would be there are some management rights. For example, transfer is one. And other situations where, as per the rules of the organization, person is asked to do something or is required, and hence it will not constitute as a sexual harassment because that predominantly is governed by his job offer. That consists all these details. Further, if there is any meeting deadlines or quality standards that is work related and that hence giving stress, that's work stress and shouldn't be a sexual harassment case again. Then if there is any work condition that demands to stay back and really every other person in the organization is saying that, we discussed this case actually with Pratibha ma'am as well. So that wouldn't be counted as a sexual harassment. And similarly, lastly, constructive feedback was there about the work mistakes and not the person, not personally, not it wasn't a personal attack, but it's more like to improve the quality of work, etc. And it's a feedback, which is a constructive work, and of course, it will also not be included. So these were only the pretty few things listed there.
There's one more question has come. the external member or any other company can act as an internal committee member or his company. Yeah, that you answered. Actually, we elaborately discussed also. Yeah. I think the questions are over. If there are any hands or risen, we can actually see.
The recording is on our YouTube channel, Decoding Corporate Law with Mehta and Mehta. Okay, that is the question.
I think there is one hand has been risen. I think Sweta has risen the hand. Sweta, are you there? Sweta, you have risen the hand. Are you there actually? Sweta Jain, which I can see actually here. No?
Yeah, Sweta has said hi. She is writing
Yes.
question.
Okay.
Miss Sweta, you can unmute and say, speak if you can, otherwise write the.
Sweta, you can speak. You can unmute and speak also.
She is asking that question. She has already put the question.
Okay.
Can you explain C box?
Can you explain
She
C box?
explained actually. We discussed.
Yes, she can refer to the recording.
She elaborately
Yeah,
stated
we
C box.
discussed in detail. Yeah.
I think there's
it no
another hand is risen. C.S. Basant. Yeah. Yes, Basant, you can unmute and talk. Are you there? Basant? Hello, Basant? Basant Kumar? Basant Kumar Sabu. If you are there, you unmute, please talk. There are more
by
questions have come.
mistake we can.
Yeah, there are more questions have come. Is POSH applicable if there are no employees? For example, only director and no employees.
I have not seen any company where there are only directors and there are no employees. Few
It all
directors,
seems to be
yes. So directors, if they are drawing salary, they are the employees of the company. So I think if this is coming under this definition, they are drawing the salary and they are not just because how they will work without they have a structured organization and they will not be so not possible. But even if this is the scenario, assuming it. POSH IC will not be there, obviously, because how many directors? Two directors, three directors. So IC will not be there, but definitely you always have the alternates to go and file the complaints to the SheBox portal or to the LC also. So this way you can get your things resolved.
There are a lot of articles which say HR should not be the part of the ICC as a good corporate governance. Your view, please, on this.
See, it's depending upon because the IC is an independent body. It should not be managed or controlled. Should not be, I'm saying, it should not be managed or controlled by the management. But practically, if you go and see the structure of any company, you will not see that any of the case, whichever is coming to the POSH committee, to the IC committee, that case has not been reported to the management. They are the first people whom the IC will report that this is the case and it has come. So why HR should not be, I do not understand why HR should not be, because HR, like other employees, HR is also an employee. They are management is equally influencing HR people like they are influencing the employees. So I feel that if HR is there, why the external person is sitting there? External person is sitting because of some reason. The constitution of IC is because of some reason, external member and the presiding officer is there. So it is appropriate having an HR senior person in the IC. You need to maintain the decorum of the IC, that you need not to be biased. You need not to be judging people basis their earlier behaviors. So if the case has come, identify the case and do the proceedings basis the case only. Take the suggestions from the IC people. Do not discuss with your other teammates. So if you are maintaining the decorum, I don't think there is any problem having any HR in the IC. If they are maintaining.
I think law as such does not prohibit actually.
Yeah,
Law
they have
only
not
talks.
restricted. Yes.
Yeah, that is.
So the idea is to maintain the decorum, being unbiased and being being able to provide the justice to the person, and also being able to help people. So this is the intent behind having this law. So there is no point having HR, not having HR in IC.
Somebody has written actually director or also employees, artificial personality of the company is different.
Sometimes they are
Here,
state
let us understand. Right. One thing is there, if you say directors, again, it depends upon type of the director. If the whole-time director, then they are actually the employee because they are governed under the employee's contract. But if the non-executive director, independent director, they are not employee of the company actually. So much will depends on what sort of the directors you are having it. Because first of all, if the executive director is there, he is the employee by virtue of the contract. Then he is the director. That is the difference. I think that is all the questions, etc., madam. Yeah.
All questions are we
Yes,
attended.
Dipti.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I think we
everything
can
is attended. Things are there.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for your participation. This was something out of box topic, but most relevant, and you all participated well. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Pratibha, for your wonderful explanation, sharing your knowledge, experience. Thanks everyone for your participation. Thanks, Namrata. Thanks, Ashwini. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pratibha. I really appreciate your participation and your explanation, etc. And all. I enjoyed the session. I am very sure our participants would also benefited because see the large gathering of the people and the number of questions which has been asked and other thing and all. It's greatly very nice. And Namrata, my appreciation to you. You very nicely presented with the examples and other things and all this thing. And Lucy, you have gone through and you have taken us. Thanks a lot for your presentation. Thank you. Yet we meet in the next week. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
sir.
day.
Thank you,
Good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.